In today's video, we're going to be making a scene. Not that kind of scene, a card scene. Hi, I'm Stacy and welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoyed my little fun with the intro and that you're inspired to create. We're going to jump right in and get started. I've got my Misty here with a Wallflower grip mat. I'm using this stamp set from the greeting farm called Miss Anya Pretty Day. And that is some copy paper that I've just cut down. And I'm going to stamp these images out and then I'm going to fussy cut them. So it's not real important when you're stamping these out to get a crisp image. You just need enough so that you can cut just over that line. So there's no need to double stamp. I may have because, when you're creating you're just doing your normal kind of cruise control on some parts. And so I'm just going to fussy cut this basket on this one. And I stamped out a couple more of the baskets because as you've seen in the intro, there were 3 of them there. And I am literally cutting right on that line because I wasn't sure if I was going to ink blend in the back. Also, you want to be on that line, otherwise you'll get a halo with the ink blending. And when you're creating a scene and you're going to be layering stamp images on top of each other, if you have any gap, that's going to show up when you stamp the next image and then they won't be seamless. So just try to turn your paper more than you do your scissors, but however you can get it to work, that's all that matters. And it's really easy to cut copy paper versus cardstock, at least for me. It's almost like the scissors just kind of glide in the paper, kind of like when you're cutting wrapping paper for presents. And this is a Zig 2A glue pen, so and it's got like a detail rollerball tip. So what I do is I put it all over the back and then I take my finger to smear it out to the edges. And once this glue, if you put it down wet, it will dry permanent, but if you allow it to dry, it becomes repositionable. And then I was just taking them after they were dry and rubbing them on my hand or skin, arm, clothing, whatever you got to remove some of that tackiness. And then I'm using the actual mask to lay out my scene and get a feel of how I want it to lay out. And then I started already and I'd already stamped that middle basket down because that's going to be the closest, it's going to be in your foreground, it's going to be the closest to you. And then I'm laying those other 2 down and then I'm putting the stamp on top to position it properly where I want because, right, this mask, I get to see what it's going to look like prior to stamping it. And then I use the Misty to pick it up and then stamp. But you could use acrylic blocks to do it. You don't have to have a Misty. I like using a Misty because I'm a horrible stamper and this makes it look like I'm a pro and I'm not. I've never really been able to get a good image. And then I fiddled with this for a while because of how their pose is with their leg kind of stuck out. Originally I was like, do I want them completely tucked behind the baskets? Do I want part of them kind of sticking out? And then this is what I decided on. So I'm going to stamp it out. So see how I picked that up? I picked the mask up and then pulled it off. I laid the stamp on top and then the mask came up with it because these are new stamps. So when I first got them out, you could see me rubbing my hands to condition them on the top because they have a residue from the manufacturer that you can take off of there. And then I'm just stamping them out. And I put the mask in the packaging. So if I can reuse them, I'll put them in with my stamp in the packaging. And that way they're already there in case I want to create another scene card or I want a mask to do ink blending in the back or stamping in the back, however, you want to use them later. And then I decided I wanted to fill in the center there. I didn't give total thought to the sentiment that I was going to put there. And that the sentiment for me is often an afterthought. And I wish I would have thought of it sooner because I put those bees in and I thought, oh, that's going to be cute. They're going to be in the place of embellishments. But then once I pulled that sentiment in, I realized it probably would have been better if I had put the sentiment first and then did the bees around it. So you choose what works for you. Sentiments are always an afterthought for me. One of my goals is to start thinking about it prior. I enjoy coloring and creating scenes and the images and then, so that's what I focus on, but you do what works for you. And I'm just putting those bees all over. And it looks like a swarm of bees in the end, but I thought it was kind of cute because they are kind of tilted back. So for me, it looked like they were just laughing and the bees were flying around, but hopefully it comes across that way and not that these bees are attacking him. But I thought it was really cute. And then I'm just going to color these, and I'm doing shading on each side so that there's a center highlight. And when I say each side, I mean of each character, like as if they have a spotlight shining in between them. Because I liked the tilted pose back, so I thought that I would try that. Now, I don't know if I was completely successful. You guys will have to let me know. And I just started with putting my lightest marker down to kind of map out some of those shadows for the coloring, and then I'm working in, and then I bring in my darkest and so forth. Sometimes I'll go straight in when I'm being brave with my darkest marker, and then other times I won't. It just depends on how I'm feeling that day, whether I've been coloring prior. A lot of times if I haven't colored that day or anytime soon, I won't start with the darkest. And then for the hair, I'm no expert. Hair is challenging. It's kind of nice because you get to play around with these, and I don't want them to look like, I think Sandy Allnut called it helmet hair one time. And so what I worked with was the lightest, and then I was getting the feel, the flicks. And it's better if you hold your marker straight up and down. But I try to keep mine a little bit of an angle so my hand isn't blocking what I'm doing for you guys. But if you hold it straight up and down, you can get a really fine point. So I went in with my lightest, and then I worked up to my darkest, and then back. Sometimes I'll start with my darkest with hair, but it's been a while since I've colored hair, so that's what I did. And coloring this hair was super slow. Like, I can't tell you how long it took me. So it looks like I'm doing it really quickly, but I'm not. I'm moving really slow. It's pretty precise, and I think her hair came out pretty good. But just play around. Even if you do her hair, do their hair solid color, maybe add in some shadowing, use a colored pencil. I've done that before because it's easier with a colored pencil. They're more forgiving. You could use a gel pen. However, but that's how I did her hair, and I tried to make the darkest towards where those braids gathered, because if you braid your hair and you're looking at natural hair, that's where it's going to be. And I got these in a D-stash a long time ago from Tina Kappa, Crafty Bean, so she's going to be doing more D-stashes next week. She bought an entire, I think, storage unit that is basically new product, and yesterday I shared some stuff on my channel, which I don't know when this video is going to come out, but I shared some stuff on my channel that I got from her, and I'll link her down below. So if you're looking for some new craft products and you want to get them at a good price, she's your gal. So I'll link her down below. And then when it came to like coloring I haven't even got there yet, but to coloring their outfits, I kind of just did them the same to keep them cohesive. I kind of struggled. I had a different idea for coloring these girls up, and I will maybe do something similar on a different card, but I thought about something else, and then I was going to do like a sepia, like them all in sepia, and have the flowers in a bright color. And I totally forgot. I'd picked them out, and then I had left everything with my markers, left it all laying out, came back the next day, and then I changed my mind. I changed my mind during the process, and then when I came back, I just didn't grab the new markers. And I was like, oh well. But I think these girls came out cute. I think the coloring was cute. So I just try to keep their clothing, pretty bland, because I wanted the focus to be on the bright flowers. But you could choose what you really want the focus to be on. And it just kind of evolved. So when you're playing around with your craft supplies, just see where they take you. Sometimes we can plan them out and we have something in our head and it translates to the paper. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it evolves and ends up better, and sometimes it ends up in the garbage. And I was going to do her hair black, but I was planning on doing their hoodies and her hat black. And if I had this over to do this over again, I would do the hair, the purplish desaturated, like grayish purples here in her hair on the other one and the red on the reddish auburn color on the other. But I thought like the purplish, grayish black hair looked cute with the girl with the pigtails. So what have you guys been up to? Have you been finding time to craft? Watch crafty videos? Spend time relaxing, doing what you need to, doing anything fun? Or has it just been all work? I like to hear from you guys and what you're up to. Here it was pouring rain yesterday. It was the day before that, I think it was like in the 90s, and then the next day it was cold, and I mean it was just a downpour. It was really nice, and now it's warming up again today, and I'm not looking forward to the heat at all. I'd rather it be cool out and rain and the air was crisp, and I loved it. So I believe these are these warm grays? You guys, it's cool grays. The little tiny screen that I get in the editing software I use, and I have a MacBook, and it's, so it's not a huge screen. It's so tiny it's hard to see sometimes, so I have to remember what I was using, and sometimes I have this stuff out, and sometimes I don't, and I think I put everything up already. Well, I know I did. I cleaned up. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have got to it. But do you see how I'm doing like the shadowing on the right side here for her? On the other side, I'm going to do it on the left so that it looks like there's a center highlight. And I just kept the coloring real simple. I mean, I didn't go in and add super fine detail. It's just, there's not any like glazing or underpainting. It's literally, I'm skipping, I think, a couple of shades in between. So like Copics go from like, we'll say C0, I think it goes up to C9 or C10. So if I was using, I think, what am I using there? C6, C4, C2, something like that. So I try to leave a gap in between the numbers so I don't go 1, 2, 3, 4. I try to leave a gap so that there's a little bit more contrast. Sometimes I'm more brave with it than others, and some images call for more of a contrast than others. This one, I think I didn't go as strong on the contrast as I could have. It's been a while since I've colored little people images. Usually it's critters or florals or, it's something else, insects, bugs, whatever. People are a little bit more challenging, at least for me. And I mean, you could color these up to look like whoever the recipient is. So, if you're sending this to a recipient, you color up like yourself and your recipient. And that's really cool too, because you get to personalize it for that. I just chose some colors. And then I was trying to decide whether or not I wanted her to, even though she's wearing a skirt because she's kind of tucked behind there. Sometimes, I don't know, when I wore tights when I was younger under my skirts, I mean, that was the look in the 80s, we'd wear leg warmers with skirts, with mini skirts. So, and I think the girl on the right, I did color her leg flesh tone, but I go back in and I'll explain to you why I changed it, which is cool because you can go over it. And I wouldn't even worry about that first yellow marker. It was too bright. Everything was kind of more desaturated. So I had to go back in and adjust it with a different Y marker. See? The other one was just way too bright. And then I wanted to color these up to look like California poppies. That was my mother's favorite flower. So anytime I see poppies, I think of California poppies because of my mom. Those were her favorite. She's no longer here. She passed years back. But this time of year is rough. Mother's Day. Last month is the anniversary of her death, and it was unexpected. But anyway, I'm not going to get all into that. Some people know, but yeah, it's always a rough time of the year. See how I colored in her leg? I colored in the cool grays, and because she was standing behind that basket and it would have been shaded, so I just went ahead and made it to where she was wearing pants instead of shorts, because in the image itself she's wearing shorts, but you could color it up however you want. I think they're shorts. That's what it looks like to me in the image anyway. It could be a skirt, but she's so tucked behind the basket that you can't tell. And then I'm just adding some shading in there. I mean, California poppies are kind of an orangish yellow color, and a lot of people color poppies red because I think that classically, like, certain poppies are red. I think they're all different colors, but I'm not positive. But I live in California, and they're everywhere because that's our state flower. And I don't know if it still is, but it's illegal to pick them. And so my mom would go out and buy seeds, and she would plant them so that she could pick them in her own yard. But so, and then there's like fields in my area, and they're covered in these flowers, and it's so beautiful. And I think the centers of a California poppy are more of the orangish yellow. They're not quite that dark, but So then I'm just going to go in with some green markers and do the foliage. And you could actually add more back there if you wanted to. You could take your marker and draw some more in there. I could have even maybe taken, what would have been pretty in here is just to draw some stems and do like little purple dots of like some lavender to tie in the hair in those cool gray colors would have been nice. And then I chose these E markers, these brown markers. I didn't want them to be so close to her hair, but they are kind of similar. Because I still want them to flow together, like the colors to not clash, but I didn't want them to be the same because I did want some distinction between her hair and those baskets. And those shirts, I planned on doing more white, but I went too far heavy with my shading. I still think they read as like either a light gray or white. But you tell me. I still think it came out cute. This was a neat card to visit because it's been a while since I've done a detailed scene like this. I mean, one layer cards are fun because they're easy to mail when you don't have all the embellishments or layers. But I mean, look at it. It was just a plain piece of white paper when I started, and it ends up being a little art piece. I mean, that's how I look at cards. I look at them as creating little art pieces. Whether you're coloring an image though as is, whether you're using die cuts, whatever, but scenes, they're just kind of like magic to me. And then I'm going to add some ground here and some shadowing. And typically shadows are darkest closest to the object, and then they get lighter as they fade out. So that's why I'm adding the deeper shadowing right under the images. So do you think those bees look like they're being attacked by the bees, like it's a swarm of bees? I hope not, because, when I send this up, I hope that they see it as like it's more playful. Like the one girl looks like she's laughing, like, ah. I don't know. And then like in the background where the ground meets what would be the sky, or I tried to add a little bit of darker and then fade it out light because I wanted some definition there. This would have been cute too to color the background like a sky, or you could have done like really muted desaturated colors in the background, like maybe they're at a flower market, like at a market. And then you could have just done little dots and blobs in the background to look like flowers. Like, I mean, there's all kinds of ways this could have went, but this card was like super color intensive. So I decided, since it's been a while, that I wasn't feeling that ambitious. So, but maybe after I get some more scene coloring under my belt. It's been a while. So, and then I'm adding some blush to their cheeks. Because I had stamped those images so close to the edges, I was going to mat it with a black cardstock, and it was too close. I didn't want to take what little bit of breathing room with the background, the white there, and get rid of it. So I just took a black marker and went around the edge, and it reads in real life like there's a little bit of a thin black edge. And then I'm going in with my Spectrum Noir clear glitter pen. I use it a lot, and I'm putting it all over the flowers and the centers and on the bees. And then I dotted the whites of their eyes with a white gel pen, and then that's glossy accents in a precision glue tip bottle. Like, that's super fine. And I'm just putting it all over the bees because that's essentially my embellishments. And here they are. That's the finished card. See how much brighter and darker it gets, like with the shine of the glossy accents. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!